I was in medically induced coma for about a week. The coma itself is not much to talk about. There is just a gap in your memory, even from before it happened. I don't even remember the accident that brought me there in the first place. Waking up from it is much different story though. Since I was fully dosed by painkillers and sedatives and whatnot, I was basically high as kite, and since the trauma I suffered was very serious, my brain constructed very stressful, vivid nightmares I remember to this day. I had a motorcycle wreck a few years ago. Someone texting blew a stop sign and they'd ended up T-boning them. Not sure if coma is the correct term, but I was definitely unconscious for 2 days. Honestly, just felt like the worst, least refreshing nap in the history of naps. Had the wreck on a Sunday, woke up sometime Tuesday afternoon evening and asked if the bike was okay. It wasn't. My wife was in a coma for about a month. At first I didn't bring the kids up because of how she looked, but in the third week her color was closer to normal and there was less stuff going on, as she was pretty stable compared to the first 2 weeks. Anywho, I had told the kids that while Mom wasn't responsive, there was a chance could she hear us, so they should be as brave as they can and sound as happy as they can. I described to them everything I thought that might spook them, from the tubes and wires to things beeping randomly and DRs and nurses coming and going. They were awesome. Even in the initial shock at seeing her with a ventilator, they were vocally loving, hugged and patted, held their hand, etc. We sat in the room a while and just talked. At one point I asked the kids what their favorite vacation was. Instead of our Disney and Universal Studios trips, they both agreed it was the road trip we took from Vegas down to Arizona. Driving all over and seeing all the incredible sights. We talked about rides and amusements in Vegas, then Hoover Dam, the Grand Canyon, the Painted Desert, cave dwellings, petrified forest, silly road stops, a cheap motel we stayed in Flagstaff. We laughed and cried, just a little. It was as nice as it could be. They kissed her goodbye saying see you soon. My wife heard it all, but in a hallucinatory way. She now has, to this day, near 10 years later, a vivid memory of a second Arizona vacation she went on with us. She even asked me early on after she woke up if we had gone on a vacation recently. Her mind went through every detail we talked about and even added on to it as if it all actually happened, and the memories of it are as real as any. There was a kid named Martin Pistorius who fell into a coma for 12 years, but his mind woke up 2 years into it. However, he was unable to speak or move, and everyone believed he was a vegetable at best. This wasn't the case. His mind was fully there. For over a decade he was mistreated in facilities that played Barney every single day for years without being able to move. True mental torture. He was also physically and sexually abused on top of that. At one point he couldn't stop throwing up, so the nurses tube fed him his own vomit. His parents were unaware of all this and tried adapting the best they could. In some of the lowest moments he remembers his mother telling him she wishes he would just die, yet all he could feel was compassion for how she felt. Eventually someone who cared enough realized he was responsive enough and got him the help he needed, and now he has a wife and kids, talks like Stephen Hawking, and is a computer programmer. Really shows how you can still emerge from the deepest, darkest places of life. If anyone is wondering, it happened to him due to cryptococcal meningitis. Fungus covered his brain and spinal cord. The disease comes from soil with infected bird droppings being inhaled. One day he was just an innocent 12-year-old playing outside, only for his life to be changed because of simply breathing in some kicked up dirt. Glad he came out on top in the end. I was in a coma for 3 days following a serious cycling accident, medically induced. I woke up with zero recollection of why I was there or what was said while I was out. It is easily the scariest situation I have found myself in, but I can't say I remember it. I woke up to my mom and dad in the hospital with me and my body in traction of some sort, and that was way scarier to me. I've tried to explain it a few times, but honestly it's life-changing. It's one of those experiences that are almost impossible to explain, but you're a different person afterwards, not just because of the brain damage, on my part, or the physical therapy you need to learn basic motor functions. It's like visiting another realm of reality. My brother was in a coma. He does remember the weeks, months leading up his accident or the months following his waking. He had a very severe TBI. 10 days I don't remember anything about. Not sure if it is a blessing or a curse. Hit by a drunk driver. My wife and I lived, Our daughter didn't. To me, the stuff on TV where the PT wakes up and everything goes back to normal is bullshit. When I woke up, I was in a conversation with another PT. Air Force had sick days, not individual rooms. I can only compare it to a computer. I had been hung in an update and then, flicker, new screen. I had woken up several days earlier, but nothing stayed with me. My wife says I was paranoid that they were putting acid in my eye. Because I was tripping. I was hostile and aggressive. I read the medical records. They kept me restrained for a couple of days after I hit a nurse. I started acting normal, so they moved me from ICU to the sick bay. The blessing is for getting 10 days of some pretty intense pain. I was broken in a lot of places and bruised in all the rest. Never knew could bruise some of them. That freaked me out. The curse was I wasn't there when my wife needed me most. There is the tinge of guilt that she faced that grief alone for 10 days. I know, couldn't be helped. Not my fault, but live through it and tell me how it feels. I was in coma because I fell 15 meters and broke nearly all of my bones in my back, and it was horrible. When I woke up, I thought the nurses were torturing me and that I need to escape. I started hallucinating a lot and couldn't even understand that I am in hospital. The biggest problem were my dreams. I thought I was a time traveler or some kind of god. I thought I was shot by the police and other shit. I still have flashbacks to this day and it is no fun. But I am getting therapy to deal with it. And I could watch porn in my dreams, so yeah. It was confusing and horrible at the same time. 010 would not do again. You're in a coma right now. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up.